Today I want to go over a few different options for snow removal, and I've got several. So we'll talk about what I have, we'll talk about what I don't have, we'll talk about what I'd like to have, and we'll do some of the limits and capabilities of all of them. So stick around for a few minutes and maybe you'll find some useful information with the snow removal attachments. So first of all, we'll talk about some of the more common attachments that you'll find. This here is a 3-point rear-mounted, rearward-facing snowblower. It's a pretty old design. It's tried and true. It's really simple, easy to put on, easy to put off. It's got a parking stand. Really nothing spectacular about it. It works great. Push snow backwards. The problem that I have is you have to look behind you all the time, and so it makes it a little difficult. Hard on your neck, hard on your back. So if you've got any kind of disability with your back or neck, probably not the best option. And as is the case with any type of snowblower, it doesn't matter which way you face the chute, it always comes back and you turn into Frosty the Snowman. So these, couldn't tell you what they go for. There's a lot of different varieties out there. This one's a Blizzard. It's made in Canada, and it's 5 feet, 64 inches, so it's a little bit over 5 feet. And you can get them in all shapes and sizes. So this is a 2-stage snowblower. So you've got stage 1, you've got an auger of some type that's pulling snow into the blower, and then this is stage 2, which is a blower unit, so it shoots it up the auger. The problem that you run into with any type of snowblower is this type of snow that you get, it packs, so it makes it really hard to move. What happens is it balls up in your chute and you end up getting a plug, so you need to shut your machine down and then use a broom handle or something to clean that out. So that is one downside. So snowblowers suck up a lot of horsepower, and the dealer can help you decide which one is best for your tractor. Snowblowers are like rotary mowers. Everybody wants the biggest one they can possibly get, and that may not be such a good idea. This one's actually a little small for this tractor. It was bought for a smaller tractor, but it works fine. It just doesn't clear both sides for the wheels, and even if I put the 3-point hitch over, it's still not enough. So one of the downfalls of this is I already have it, a little small for the tractor, but it gets the job done. So I primarily use this right here for getting snow out of the corners. My barnyard's a little old-fashioned, so there's a lot of corners, and this really makes it easy to snow out of those corners. Now obviously, if your compact tractor probably has a bucket on it, and a bucket is a great way to clean your driveway. The problem is it gets full and it leaves a windrow on both sides. So it works. It takes a little extra time, and the bigger the bucket, the more snow you can push, obviously, the more volume you can get out of the way. So this is probably the most basic snow removal implement that most people will have with their tractor. And like I said, it works. It's just a little slow. I've seen people buy these edge tamers, they call them. They put them on the bucket that kind of clamps on, like a clamp-on bucket forks. And what that does is it gives you a skid shoe underneath, so you're not digging into either your asphalt, you're scarring it up, or if you have a dirt driveway, you're not taking all the gravel off. Most of the time up here in Maine, the ground's frozen, so it's not really an issue. But for those of you who don't want your cutting edge dragging on the ground, all you have to do is just float your bucket and then curl it up this much, and it's going to do the same thing as those edge tamers. And some people will say, well, you're wearing the heel out. Well, you're not really, because with the edge up, you're just sliding across the snow, so you're not wearing it down at all. While on the topic of snowblowers, in fairly recent years, they've become more easily available as a forward-facing snowblower. So it still goes on the 3-point hitch, but instead of you having to go backwards, you go frontwards. But they do not require that you go backwards, and so you can just go forwards, and it's like any other implement on the back. Very nice design, but super pricey. That's my dream, would be to have one of those, but I don't. So it's very costly. It's a very costly option. Obviously, the tractors you can get, if you don't have the bucket on, you can put a snowblower on the front of the tractor and run the drive shaft and the hydraulics and all that stuff. That's a pretty common design. And they also have the ones now that they fit on your skid steer bucket and they run off the hydraulics. So you have like a third function that powers the auger, and everything's on the front. When you start putting stuff out front, though, it gets to pose a few problems. Mostly you're losing weight off the back. And yeah, I understand when you're using it, it's on the ground, but you still are raising it a lot, so you're throwing your center balance off. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen the front ends torn out of tractors because they just have too much weight on the front, and you got it in four-wheel drive, and then if you add chains on top of that, it just rips the front ends right out of the tractors. So if you're going to start putting stuff on your bucket, like a snowblower or even a clamp-on blade, I've seen those. And you can also take the bucket off, use your skid steer attachment or your pin-on attachment, and put a blade on there. Some people use the third function or their rear hydraulics to put an angle on it, but you still want to make sure you have plenty of weight on the back to counter that. Another attachment you see a lot of is a snow pusher. This one's 72 inches, so 6 feet. It's plenty wide enough so it clears a spot or clears a path of all the wheels and tires. Kind of like a bucket, so you got it kind of shoved in and it pushes it all out in front. But you still will leave a windrow when this gets full after an amount of time. So still better than a bucket. You got more volume, but pretty much the same idea. It's kind of heavy, so you need to make sure you got plenty of ballast on the back. But what I like about these is you can come up into a pile, and then it's really easy to pile snow with this. And so this has skid shoes on it, which your bucket doesn't. This also has a squeegee cutting edge, so you get the metal cutting edge and then the squeegee that you can adjust up and down. You can also put the skid shoes up and down. So where I have a gravel driveway, I have the skid shoes down, which brings the cutting edge up. And the rubber squeegee I've also got raised up because behind the barn there's some rocks, and the squeegee, it's about 3/4 of an inch to an inch thick, but when you start pushing on rocks in rough gravel, it tears it up. So you kind of want to make sure you're aware of that. If you have a tar driveway, put it down and scrape it clean. Another issue some people have with these is they are pushing, and just the force of it, when you're pushing, it picks the front end of the tractor up, so you lose your steering. Well, you can steer with your brakes if you have independent brakes, but what I usually do is I have it floated. So what I do is I pick the loader up just enough to get traction. It puts the weight back on the tires again. I can make the corner, and then you float it again, and then you're back. And so, yeah, you might leave a little bit of an area to come back and clean, but it's really not that bad. So snow pusher is a pretty good option. They're not super expensive, better than a bucket, but nothing is perfect, you know. So another option is a 3-point grader blade, which if you've got one of those skid steer 3-point attachment things, you can put the blank on the front into your skid steer hooks, and then you can put this on so it makes you a front blade. These don't have skid shoes on them, but I like it when the ground is good and frozen. After I've cleaned everything up, I can go through and scrape the last of the snow off. So I do like the grader blade option. Probably one of the most common and cheapest options besides your front end loader. Now again, this wasn't designed for this tractor. It was for a smaller tractor I had, but it's what I got. So it doesn't clear the path. So I can move the 3-point hitch to one side or the other, which is generally what I'll do. It just depends on what I'm doing. So all you have to do if you have a grader blade that's not quite the right size is you just use your 3-point hitch adjusters. Another option some people have is a broom or a sweeper, and they have the sweepers that go on the 3-point. They have the ones that direct mount to the tractor, and also the ones that hook on your bucket. So maybe you're a landscaper or something and you already have a broom. You can push a lot of snow with a broom. They're not ideal for deep, heavy snow, but for a dusting, they work pretty well. So some of the options are 3-point grader blade, which a lot of people will have that. That's probably one of your cheapest and most readily available options besides your front end loader. Snow pusher, some sort of a snow blower, either front mounted, front bucket mounted, rear facing, forward facing 3-point hitch. There's a lot of options there. Grader blade, snow pusher, snow blower, broom, loader, and then you've got the blades that go on your loader, broom on your loader, snow blower on your loader. Lots of different options. I'm not going to demonstrate the grader blade today because it's above 36 and the ground, I can feel it soft underneath, so I'm not going to demonstrate the grader blade, but if you've got frozen ground or a tar driveway or something, grader blades work pretty well for scraping right down to the ground. Also, after you're done, every time top off your fuel tank. What happens is if you have any kind of extra room in your fuel tank, when you have a hot motor and then it cools off, you get condensation, and no matter what you do, it's still going to happen a little bit. So I usually like to put some power service in there, and it tells you on the bottle how much you can put, but you can't really put too much. Make sure you have a winter mix diesel, and if you don't have the winter mix diesel, then you definitely want to put the power service in there or some sort of diesel winter additive, because the fuel will gel up and you'll have a mess. Your fuel lines, your fuel pump, everything, fuel filter will just be jelly. So you want to avoid that. That's never fun when it's really cold out and your tractor's all gelled up. So fill it up when you're done your job for the day, and then you have less space in the tank for condensation to build up. Hopefully this video has been kind of helpful with you looking at different implements to remove snow. If you haven't already, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for watching.